Hello there, Kevin Furman here with another week of the E3LC Book of the Month series. We are continuing our look at my dog has infiltrated my plan. Um, that was Duke. I think you may or not have seen him in earlier videos if you've checked them out. Um, it looks like he needs to make a an appearance. Duke, please stop. Oh my goodness, this is interesting start. Okay, he gets really jealous. All right, since I'm talking, there he is. There's Duke. Hi. What do you need, boy? You're interrupting the plan. All right, that's okay. Just go. Go, please. Go. Go, go, go. See you later. All right. So he says I'd go if the door were open. Um, all right, we're just gonna forge ahead and notwithstanding dogs. All right, so we are continuing our the self-esteem repair and maintenance manual by E. David Brooks and Rex Dalby, and so we're kind of far into the book. We're doing chapters 7 and 8 today, and we're just going to kind of launch in. This is the series is part of the three E's. And we're in the third one, which is encouraging with myself. So the three E's: effective with people, efficient with things, and encouraging with myself. So we're in the third part, and this book is about self-esteem repair and maintenance, which really fits in line with encouraging with yourself. Certainly for me, I've spent way too much time not thinking things that are very helpful to my thinking and what's going on, and so um, oh my dog. Okay, Duke. See you later, boy. Bye. Okay, so again, I've done a lot of thinking. Oh, this is just a fiasco. So, welcome to life, apparently. So anyway, let me spit this out. Spent too much of my time thinking about what I'm not good at, as opposed to just focusing in on what I am good at or my strengths. And so, unfortunately, it didn't work out early in my life that was something that was fostered or even talked about. And so, it took me a while to catch on to that little deal. But things have turned around quite a bit in the last few years, especially recently. I'll just put a little plug in there. I did a lot of training in this past year with coaching, actually. So professional coaching, business, life, health, et cetera, leadership training, which is where the E3LC kind of blossomed into its current philosophy and current direction. So anyway, that's all of that. So yeah, I'm a coach, and I'd love to help people figure out what they really, really want in life, and then help them get it. And I can do it on the coaching side, and I also do some consulting. So depending on the area we talk about, we can do it either. But that's neither here nor there. It's enough commercial. Let's get to the book. So chapter 7 in the book is called test, actually. So, just really quick, let's just kind of review. I think since we're far into it, so There's 10 chapters, and they did the first letter of each chapter name is spells out self-esteem. So they're being cute with their chapter names. Nothing wrong with that. Hey, it ties it all together. It's great. So I'm going to go through them just so you can hear them. So 1, setting the stage. 2, embarking on your journey. 3, language, discovering the power of self-talk. 4, framework for success. 5 is envision. 6 was strategize, and now we're at test. So if you think about those, the order of that, like setting the stage, embarking on a journey. So basically, there's some prep in there, a lot of prep actually. If you think about it, like none of it actually has been starting yet. If you kind of look at the progression of that, which is interesting because a lot of people think, well, okay, I want to start a business, and they just, okay, let's just start, which can work. But what their experience is, and I guess I would have to put that in my category too, is yeah, and I've certainly done that in the past. I think with my musical career, I've been a professional musician for a long time. I certainly in the very beginning it was, let's just go, let's figure it out. This is what I want to do. Let's go. And there's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of power in that. That we'll talk about that actually. I think I'm changing my plan for next month because I'm reading a book that really opening my eyes slash reconfirming some things. So we'll talk about that next week. But anyway, so there's a lot. So instead of just jumping in, right, they're talking about, look, like, why don't you just take some time, really think about what you want, think about the end results, right? And that's kind of what chapter 5 was: envision the end result, envision what you really want, and kind of go. And then 6 was the strategize, like, well, how would you get there, right? So it's kind of, well, let's think it through a little bit. Now, tests. So now, what they talk about in chapter 7, the testing part, sounds kind of funny to me when you think about it in the order. Like, you haven't done anything. How do you test it? Right? So that sounded a little bit out of order to me when I was just looking through the chapters. Now, in reading the chapter, and they're all very short. This is a very thin book. Basically, it's kind of like this. You say, I got this idea. Well, let's run it by a few people. Let's find some people that are in your industry that are very successful, and see what they think about it. Right? That's kind of one of the thing about testing. The other thing was, speaking of those people that are successful, they made a big point of, well, why don't you go interview them? Just go ask them questions. What did they do that worked? What didn't work? What are the pitfalls? What are some things that they would do differently? They don't give you these questions, but they talk about, make a list of questions. Those are the kinds of questions I would ask someone successful: is, well, if you could do it over, how would you do it differently so you're more effective at it, so you get there faster? What are the pitfalls that I should avoid? What are some things to look out for at certain points? Right? So a business or an endeavor has certain phases to it, right? There are kind of milestones, and once you reach a milestone, it can change like the focus of it, right? You come like the beginning growing phase, and then there's the main maintenance kind of phase, and then there's the, you know, etc. phases of whatever, right? So anyway, so they're talking about that, and they say, look, if you really want to know what's going on, then you know, ask someone ask someone who's been there and say, well, here's what I'm thinking, what do you think about that, right? And then you can just ask them their questions, and you say, well, here's my idea, here's kind of my plan, what do you think? And instead of it being sort of an intimidating, well, they're just going to shut it down. Usually people that are very successful at what they do don't shut other people down. They often come at it from, they take it in as like a possible way to do things, and they think, well, would that work? And my expertise, would that work? Yeah, it could work. We might want to look for this and this, instead of it being like, oh, that'll never work. Usually people that tell you it won't work haven't really done what you're asking them about. And one of the things they say, and this is one of the things I guess I want to bring out for sure tonight, was, um, don't listen to people who haven't done what you want to do. A better way to say that is, only listen to people who have done what you want to do, right? Who are further along in the path that you're on, that you're looking for that end result. They're going also. Find someone who's ahead of you, and start following their lead, if you will, and figure out what they did well and copy that, right? Rather than try to figure it all out yourself and get all banged up. What Look, if somebody's already done all that work, ask them. Follow what they're doing. I think that's really smart. And in my business consulting, that's what I do. And it's really a consulting thing, not a coaching thing. When we get down this road of like, well, I want XYZ, okay, fine. And I'm not here to promote that. I'm just saying, it's that kind of thinking of like, okay, well, we have a track. Let's just do that. Right. And you may come up with some great ideas, but it's already been tested like thousands and thousands of times. Let's try this first. And, down the road, once you can, say you've got a mastery of the system, okay, then we can start tweaking and adding in things. That's fine. Right. But until then, there have been people that have tweaked and tweaked and tweaked that, you have it. So finding people that are ahead of you in the path is really good at saving you time. And really, you can just kind of rest assured that you're doing the right things. You don't have to wonder if you're doing the right things. You can just follow the plan. You're doing the right things. Okay, so there's that. All right, so then they make a point of, find people who are successful, and then sit down, offer to buy them lunch or take whatever, right? And then have a list of questions, come prepared. They actually have a list of things to do: be on time, respect their time, know what you're going to ask, have your questions written down. But if they bring up a side subject, you don't have to stick to your paper. Like, if they bring up something very important, then just start asking questions about that and take notes, right? But if they, just like, well, other questions you have your questions ready to go. So you're not just, trying to figure out it on the fly, because that will convey a message in and of itself that you're not prepared, you're not taking it seriously, right? If you're taking it seriously, you put some thought into it, you write some things down, you have a plan of attack, right? And that's kind of what this is about is, well, even in the questioning of someone who's successful, you can kind of embody that idea of being prepared to take on whatever's next. So there's that. Last one, and then thank you, or thank them. Follow up with a thank you note. Went really fast in my brain. Sorry. So there's that. And the other thing you can do is that for as far as testing, they talk about role playing a lot. So if you're gonna, I don't know, whatever, if everything we do involves other people. So whatever in that situation, if you're trying to sell them something or if you're trying to convince them to help you, whatever, right? So one thing that they talk about a lot is just role play it. So it's not just this unknown, what do I do? You're like, no, practice it. Like you can actually test it out. Like, what if I said this? Well, how would that react? And they say, well, find people that can, are kind of in there so they can give you feedback specifically on what you're trying to get accomplished. But even just friends, even just like, hey, I just need to try something out. You don't have to do anything. Just give me feedback on your reaction to what I'm saying. Would this move you in the direction I'm looking for or not? It's very vague, but that's what they're talking about. So and the worst case is get in front of a mirror and just role play it. Just say it out loud, and hearing yourself speak it out loud can really do a lot of good in getting your thoughts clear, and also kind of editing the things that you don't need to say. Right? You can start to hear patterns in your speech when you talk out loud, as opposed to think it in your brain. So yeah, out loud is good. All right, so there's a lot of that. Another thing to ask about as far as testing is, and especially when you're talking to somebody who's successful, is think about, well, the actual goal, I'm trying to get X accomplished by this time, and you ask them, look, does that even seem feasible to you? Somebody who's done it, can that be done? If they say maybe, right? You're like, okay, well then what do you think it would take, right? If they go, boy, in my experience, that's really aggressive. I'm not sure that's possible. Right? You could, say, okay, well, what time frame makes a little more sense? Not like 80 years from now, but what's a little bit longer than what I've set out that I can still be comfortable with. Say, well, what about this time? Say if you say a year, and they're like, woo, that's a bit more than you can, chew. That's a bigger bite you can chew. Okay, what about a year and a half? Well, better. Okay, how about 3 years? Oh, definitely. Right, or whatever, right? That's a weird example, but you get the point. All right, and then the last thing they make a point about is, well, how do you know when you're ready? Like you've done all this kind of research and asking questions and you know testing, right? Well, how do you know when you're ready? Because might need to think about this some more, et cetera, et cetera. Well, there is a point at which you can overthink it, so to speak, and there is a point where you just need to engage. You just need to get going, right? So anyway, this is the testing part of just kind of testing out the theory of what you're going to do. You kind of thought it through, you kind of worked out some ideas, and you go, okay, well, let me find out somebody who knows what they're talking about and just ask them and see what they think. So there's that, right? That's your testing deal. Now, so if you actually go through that, they're saying, hey, look, that that takes a lot of preparation, and most people are not going to take the time, invest that time into something they want to do, and I think they're right. I don't think that statement has lost its validity over time. I think that's a very time tested truism that people could spend more time planning. They could spend more time thinking about what it is they really want, right? Which is my big question in my head all the time. And people say they want things, but like, what do you really want? Like, you might be existing, you might be doing okay, like the way you are, but man, if you could have anything, like just forget circumstance for a second. What do you really want? Okay, great. Well, why don't we get that? Okay, anyway, sorry. That's another tangent. All right, so, and I used this word earlier, and we're going to move on to chapter 8. Chapter 8 is engage, right? So, um, and this is where you start. This is the deal, right? So, their big thing is like when you're ready, you thought it all through, and then you did the testing phase. I'm kind of jumping through all the steps, but you get to the testing phase, and you're like, okay, that looks good. Okay, let's get started. So, biggest thing is they one of their big points right away is just if you're going to start, be enthusiastic, get started, go, be excited about it. Like, I'm actually doing what I want to do. Find something you really love and do that. right? Or something that just fulfills you, brings you joy, speaks to your soul. There's different ways to speak that idea. And I don't, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I fully buy. Well, I do, but I don't know the whole idea. If you find something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. There are things that come with the things you love that are work. So yeah, they're right. It won't feel like work, right? You won't feel like you're just trudging along because you're doing your dream. You're actively going towards something you really want. That doesn't feel like work, but it's work. You got to take the steps, right? So, it won't feel like work. Is it work? I don't know. It depends on what you mean by that statement, but whatever. So point is, you get started, you go. If you find something you love, you'll be enthusiastic, you'll want to do it, and you'll be engaging, and people will want to kind of join in on what you're doing. So okay, so then let's see. So questions for engaging. What do I do first? Okay, now that's a strange question to ask here because you actually did all the planning beforehand. So I would actually wonder, if why there. But it's not a bad question, right? You've had this huge plan. You've kind of thought through all this stuff. Okay, what's the first step? All right, well, pick something. Let's go, right? Um, there's got to be something that stands out as like the thing that's most important. And if it doesn't, that's okay, right? You might have 4 or 5 things you think, well, these are all equally important. Great. Well, if they're equally important, pick one. You can't go wrong then. They're all correct answers, right? There isn't one most important. Okay, fine. Then pick one. They're equally important. It's fine. You don't have to have the one at that moment. If that's going to stop you from engaging, then it doesn't matter. Then pick one and just engage, right? And then it'll bubble up as, oh, yeah, that's the one. I need to do that. Okay, great. Then jump over and get that done, and then come back to the thing you started with. It's fine. All right, how do I avoid the dreaded analysis paralysis? This is a big one for a lot of people, myself included. So they give an example of just a really simple example of, say you want to go to dinner and you call a friend and say, hey, let's go to dinner. And then you start talking about, well, what kind of food? And you list like 18 different kinds of food you could have. And okay, do we want to sit down or do you want to have it taken out? Or do you want to eat outside? Do you want to, pretty soon you're asking all of these variable questions, right? You're just like piling on all these options. It's like, that's just too much work. I just want to eat. It's not worth all that analysis, right? So there is a point of diminishing return, if you will, of looking at options. There's a point at which you look at the options, the big ones, and you say, okay, yep, those look good. The little stuff, I'll deal with it as it comes up. I'm not going to sweat the small stuff right now, so to speak, right? I'm going to go for the big picture, do what's most important, and then as things show up, I will fit them into what's going on. So there's there, and then that's pretty much it. Is don't look at all the options. Find the big stuff. Get going. Also, so if you thing to avoid, okay. So I was trying to figure out. There was a point they made. Is the what if game? Or what if this happens? What if that happens? What if that happens? If you let that spiral and just go nuts, yeah, you will be completely confused and done for the day, or week, or month, or year if you just keep staying there, right? So the what if game is a time waster. It's a motivational killer. There is time to look at what if, but that's when you're trying to look at the future and plan, not like what to take action on, but what would be the best action to take on. What if this happened? What would be the next thing? What if this happened? Okay, then what would be the next thing? So it's not so much that you're analyzing when to start. You're analyzing the the strategy as things change. That's a decent place to ask what if, but on a daily, well, what if this happens? What do I do? What if this happens? What do I do? If you just constantly are there, yeah, that's kind of analysis by paralysis, kind of classic example of what that looks like. Yeah, you want to avoid that, right? So just stuff I said earlier. Okay, then how can I eliminate my fear and or discomfort? So basically, um, excuse me. Goodness. Okay, good thing there's no one else here. Excuse me. So, what a crazy video. Um, this one, basically is this. It boils down to this: if you feel fear or discomfort, you're gonna feel fear and discomfort when you're trying to do something big. Do it anyway. I mean, it's really trite, and it sometimes that falls very short in getting you into action, but it is the truth. People who do brave things aren't not fearful. They just take action in the face of fear, along with fear as their companion, so to speak. Some people even use it as a motivator. You know, I'm afraid, then I'm gonna barrel through it, and forget that. I'm not gonna let that run my life. Something to be said there. So it's not about like, oh, fear, what do I do? Right? It's just like, well, it's there. Okay, that must be a big deal. It's a good indicator that you're on track to doing something big. So there's a thought there. And then what should my self-talk be? They get into affirmations again here because they talked about self-talk earlier, and they talk about affirmations again one more time. Should be present tense or future. Well, should be present tense, really positive and specific. Right, those are probably the three things that I would focus on affirmations or self-talk. Um, so they kind of give an example of like say weight, like, well, every day I'm getting better and I'm eating less and I'm working out more and you like make all these lists of things. Like, really, it's just they say I weigh 120 pounds, right? And for me, it wouldn't be that low, but whatever the number is, I weigh this much. It's not about how you feel about it. It's not whatever. I could another way to say it is I'm at my ideal BMI index. That would be, for anybody, like I'm at my ideal BMI index, whatever that is for you. So you could just anybody could use that wording, and once you know that number, then you work towards that number. But you just I'm at that ideal, I'm at the ideal weight for my height and age and whatever, right? So, but being more specific is great. If you know that number, it's 120 pounds, 150 pounds, 100 pounds, whatever, right? Depending on you. Um, then you just that's your affirmation. It's not about like trying to convince yourself at all. You're just sort of like speaking what it is you really want. You just speak it as this is what I am. This is what I will have. Another one that's big this is kind of comes from not this book, but I'll just put this in here now because it's really helpful. Another one that kills people a lot is the money thing, right? Money is a big deal, and it did for me for a long time. And I'm not a billionaire, but I'm beginning to I'm beginning to really embrace the idea of wealth. And I don't mean it from the sense of just money. I mean it in the sense of success in all areas of life. If you look at 14 to 20 different areas of life, depending on how you want to delineate all that, what does successful mean in finances? What does successful mean in your spiritual life? What does success mean in friendships, relationships? What does it mean in career? What does it mean in and hobbies? What does it mean in a family? Whatever, right? There's lots of areas, and we don't have to go all the way through all that stuff. I'm just saying that being successful doesn't always mean the same thing, right? So having money doesn't necessarily make you a better person, even though some people think that's true. That is not. That is definitely not true. So the idea is, just like I am wealthy. That's what you want to do. I am wealthy. That's the plan. And so whatever that means to you is a thing. So that's the kind of affirmation I get. My overall point, sorry, is that's the kind of affirmations you want to use because they're very specific, they're very quick, and if you can word them in a way that isn't you're fighting your, kind of like you're thinking you're lying, so to speak. Because you could say, well, I'm not wealthy. Yeah, I don't have a house or whatever. Okay, well, there's different ways to be wealthy, right? Now, if it is a financial thing, then affirmations become a statement of faith, not a statement of truth. And when you have faith, here's a good quote. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna repeat who I remember who exactly said it, but when you have faith, no proof is needed, or no reality is needed, so to speak, or no truth, so to no true isn't no true, not the truth, but true things aren't needed. You just have faith. You know it's true. You know it's going to happen. When you don't have faith, no proof is enough, right? So faith is kind of the key thing in all there. So when you have faith, you don't need proof that you can do things or that things are going to happen. When you don't have faith in them, when you don't believe in yourself or believe in what you're doing, then it doesn't matter how much people try to prove you that you're, that you can. If you don't believe it, if you don't believe that that's true, it doesn't matter. So anyway, affirmation should be towards building faith. It's a faith statement. It's not a truism. You're not speaking the truth. Because sometimes when you say an affirmation, I've done this. I've said affirmations, and it's just daily. Like that's not true. And there was a tip from an earlier video. Kudos to you if you remember which one. Where you can reword things, right? And you can kind of include that wrestling with what's true with what you're going for, right? How do you wrestle those two things and not have this internal battle all the time every time you say your affirmation? There's a way to do that, right? There's a way to word things. So yeah, I don't have to get into it now. But there you go. There is the three. I almost said three E's again. There's the two chapters from the Self-Esteem Repair and Maintenance Manual. So test your ideas and then engage. Actually, just get going, right? And then we have one more week left in this book. Two more chapters, 9 and 10, next week, and then I'll announce the next book for the following month, and then we will go from there. So thanks a lot for checking it out. If you have any questions or comments, kfurman at e3lc.net, or comment on the video. Feel free to check out all the other ones, and I will see you down the road. If you have questions about coaching or consulting, so I coach in all areas. I tend to focus on transitions, business, actually small business owners. I tend to focus in that area, but really kind of every area. I've done coaching with just day to day life type things, but that's been my focus. And then consulting I do in business and then also in health. So if you want some tried and true methods in those two areas, let me know. We'll talk. All right, take care. Have a great time, and I'll see you at the next videos. Thanks a lot.